painful. And picking up the Aphelios yourself could be quite powerful. This AD carry has been really high prio. Obviously, they had it last time, so maybe wanted to take that one again. We'll see what else they have to go for. Actually going for the early Lissandra, which, you know, I can understand the Lissandra into the Taliyah. Obviously able to, you know, use the claw and just appear at the other end of the Unraveled Earth and go for lockdown. Like, this is a strong mid-jungle combo with the Lissandra Viego for those resets. But I feel like you've just given over so much power to EDG. Like, these picks from LNG are fine, but they're not power picks. They're not like the highest presence picks on the patch. And I think EDG could just take, like, Poppy Aphelios if they wanted here. Poppy Aphelios makes sense in my eyes. Maybe they want to respond in the jungle with the Poppy and then just, secure the AD carry everyone's been leaning on the patch.
As you said, power picks are big. I mean, Renata are also an option here as well if they take it away. So EDG not only having those power picks, but having direction within them as well. We'll wait and see what gets picked up because for EDG, once again, running back Scout on the Taliyah, which in the mid-game had such big impact. Junjia going to get his Poppy again, where he's only played 2 champions as split. One's Trundle, one's Poppy, and now his Poppy is looking mighty fine with 4 games played and a hell of a KDA.
I just feel like the priority is a bit weird from LNG. Like, for EDG, this is the best mid laner on the patch, the best jungler on the patch. And although, you know, Aphelios isn't strictly the best AD carry, he's usually one of the best that doesn't get banned. Often we see, like, you know, Zeri is banned, Kalista is denied, or, like, Renata is. So EDG should be really happy with what they got. And then LNG, the Gangplank comes in, a decent pick, but a lot of priority put into securing the top side of the map. And I still don't feel like pound for pound they've got it as good as EDG, but they are going to try and target Flandre's champion pool. That Vladimir we talked about earlier going to get taken away, a good matchup for the GP. We'll see what else they opt to go for as a ban here. And EDG, they can look at the AD carry pool, I think, and just thin that out.
I was going to say, it's hard to ban Flandre out, though. While EDG go the direction you were just mentioning, I mean, for Flandre, yeah, things like the Vladimir, but he's also got Kennen, the Sejuani's been played, like, Flandre has had a lot of interesting picks like the Riven, even the Ornn, which doesn't really come out much in the LPL, as even the Gragas goes on top of that too. So they're still attempting to ban out that top side, but for EDG, we have really limited AD carries left that they can ban, right? Like, what else is there, Orcs? Jinx is at the point we're getting?
Senna, you could take Senna out. I mean, Jinx is a fine one as well. It's good into the Aphelios. It's often what we see traded off. You could just take Senna here and then leave your support pick to counter whatever EDG have. If they go for like a Nautilus, then you take the Tom. If they go for like, you know, something more defensive like a Renata, then you go for the Seraphine.
Okay.
Alternatively, they could just take a support for themselves here, but potentially going in a bit of an interesting direction with the Misfortune. Not something we often see, not since spring really, as this showed up, but pretty good into Aphelios. Obviously outranges him, can just harass him in lane. And then in the team fight, like, you have a pretty strong 5v5 with the setup with LNG. And now for EDG, they need to lock their support blind and they need to answer the Gangplank. Might be considering the Gwen option. Remember, this is the semi-reworked Gwen. Now scales really well, but does have a bit of a weaker laning phase.
Yep.
And they will go for that one. And now in the support role, what do EDG want to take?
Well, Meiko pulled out Blitzcrank in game number 1. You already mentioned the Nautilus, though. Leona, one of his best champions historically, too. And I feel like for EDG, I mean, power picks across the board, Orcs, we can talk about it in a little bit, but that's going to be another tank going up against this Misfortune. So I need you to run me through what LNG do for maybe not more damage source, but how to round this out with what more realistic engage. Is that the better route?
Yeah, engage is good. And, you know, you might be asking, why did EDG take the Leona instead of the Nautilus? Because Nautilus is absolutely higher prio. The reason is Leona's ultimate. If MF starts channeling her ultimate, Leona can instantly stop it. Even if a Misfortune is cleansed, like, it doesn't matter if you cleanse if your ult's been cancelled. Which is why EDG go for the you know, weaker support, just have a stronger option here. LNG respond with the Nautilus, and now, you know, they have that good AoE lockdown. If Doinb gets a big root into a big ult, and you have the MF ult on top, very powerful. You have good single target burst, which can set up Tarzan for the resets. You know, you can definitely understand how LNG's composition wants to function. The problem is, on the side of EDG, they have this Gwen who can be a menace in the late stage of the game. You know, Poppy has been so problematic. Taliyah as well. I feel like the Aphelios might struggle a bit in the fights here to an extent, but I think EDG's top side is fantastic as long as the Gwen doesn't struggle too much in the laning phase with the nerfs she had.
Okay, well, it's interesting at the very least for Flandre. I mean, pulling out the Gwen, I was just looking across his history. He actually hasn't played Gwen yet. Flandre has played 6, 9, 11 unique champions. This is going to be number 12. So something new for Flandre every day. Like I said, hard to ban him out. For LNG, after the way the game number one went, excuse me, I feel like this misfortune pick once again throwing a spanner into the works. Aux, a big concern here considering that Poppy Taliyah has been, I think, one of our strongest new 12-12, 12-13 mid-jungle duos. And are just looking so good in the LPL considering Scout showed us last game. Even Junjia, who had a bit more of a silent game on the Poppy, also powerhouse with some of the ultis and the engages later on.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the power of the Poppy is like if you hit an ult onto any real piece of LNG. Let's say you ult Tarzan, suddenly you can't get the resets. You ult Doinb, there's a big part of your lockdown gone. Just removing one member from the fight for such a long time is so powerful, and that's ignoring the fact that she has these strong ganks in the side lanes with the knock into the wall.
Yep.
I just feel like LNG are going to struggle in the fight. As much as I said I praise the team fighting, so much of it's going to come off Doinb because of the fact that Nautilus is going to struggle into this Poppy Taliyah. Like when you throw the dredge line and it counts as a dash, if the Poppy pops the W, if you're going over Unraveled Earth, you're not going to be able to get your full combo in. You're going to get locked out. It's pretty frustrating. And I think EDG, as long as they don't get eclipsed in the early mid game, I think they should be very comfortable with this composition going into the later stages.
As you said, the Gwen in the side lane going to be huge too. As we welcome you back to Summoner's Rift, remember for EDG, that game 1 was a huge miracle comeback. And I think what's more important is the fact that for LNG, they had that game within their grasp. That game was theirs up until the dragon fight in the bottom side, and it all just fell apart. So, I don't know. For LNG, 6-6, they desperately need this win. And heck, even if it's not a series win, game wins start becoming important as we go through the split orcs. Because remember, it's series, then it's games, then it's head-to-head. So, the games always come back to bite you in the bum, as have in Week 9 and Week 10 as we round out our final positions of playoffs.
I think that's the thing is that, like, you can speculate, like, maybe LNG don't need to be EDG to make playoffs, but you don't actually know for sure. You don't know if they're definitely going to win the rest of the games. They don't know if, other teams are going to make the standings more difficult. We don't know the exact cutoff, what it's going to be. And so you just don't want to chance it. You want to pick up as many series wins as possible. You don't want to be reliant on other teams' performances in games that you're not involved in to decide whether you make playoffs. You want to just secure it. And as we're seeing this top lane start off, Ole really bringing it to Flandre so far, consistently proccing this grasp and just giving a hard time to the Gwen.
As you said, the Gwen with the weaker laning phase, range on E. What else changed? Orcs with the cooldown, the damage.
The range on E actually went up, but the big thing that got nerfed is the refund. So when you E, if you auto after you E, you get like a refund for percentage. It used to be 50%. It is now 25% at rank 1, and it scales up. But and I hold that thought, we're going to get a gank coming in here.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the flash comes from Junjia, just matches it. Tarzan's incoming, though, as the barrel gets laid down. Can they kill him first? Yes, they can. It goes to Flandre as Tarzan wants his little reset, but he kites it out. However, Tarzan with a Q backwards. Well played from the jungler. Equals up the score with both top laners dying. Yeah,
and it's a good read from Ole to instantly start running. The second Flandre charged at him, he kind of got he suspected something was happening. And Junjia as well knew that once Tarzan was close to getting the kill, you do not want to hang around. If he gets a full rotation of cooldowns from the Gwen as well, definitely becomes scary. So Tarzan answers back, picks up the scuttle on his top side as well, and can go back in his jungle and continue clearing. He's in a pretty good position right now off the back of that.
Well, look at him. I mean, Tarzan's going to have so much CS on top. As we look at the replay, this was a flash for flash orcs. Quick thinking from Ala.
Yeah, I mean, just finding this window and just moving instantly towards his jungler. Yes, he goes down, but he buys enough time for Tarzan in this extended trade to get the kill. The Q just connecting there. And see, Junjia just knows he has no cooldowns left. He's not going to be able to solo out this Viego. He just gets out of there. And this is kind of why the Viego is one of the things that was banned in game 1 against the Poppy. You can interrupt the dash, you can knock him away, but ultimately, compared to other picks in the jungle, Viego does quite well. If you get into an extended fight with a Poppy, you will just shred her with that percentage HP damage.
I think we're going to start paying attention to Tarzan a little bit more, though, because Tarzan with the Sheen, as he heads towards the bottom side, has himself a direct route to this EDG bottom lane. And Aux says, we get a bit of an interrupt here through mid. And actually a nice setup from Scout, who doesn't have much more mana. Last game was all about bot. Tarzan literally hovered this bottom lane 24/7 as Discana, even 3-6. We know this time around bot lane might not be as volatile, but with a misfortune. For LNG, I feel like it's a similar condition, but reversed, right?
To an extent, but honestly, I feel like for LNG, you know, you're fine with just letting the bot lane play out 2v2. One thing is that, like, the Nautilus into Leona can be a bit of a tricky matchup. You can use your Q to stop her engage. That's how you want to play it and keep them at a distance. Let the MF do the trading. But really, for the side of LNG, they want to play around their mid-jungle because the Lissandra, with the lockdown, with the reset potential for the Viego, is very potent. And what I would love to see is, as soon as 6 is hit for Doinb, if you can start to burn Scout Summoners, get his cleanse, maybe his flash, it will really put the Taliyah in a difficult position. Once the Taliyah is in a difficult position, it becomes harder to roam. If you don't have flash or cleanse and you go walking in the fog of war, you'll just die. And it allows LNG's mid-jungle to start to take over the map. And that's something they were so good at. I feel like in spring, they were at a period of time, we really looked at this mid-jungle as being one of the strongest in the league. And although it was a brief tenure, there was definitely a lot of praise towards them when they could take over the map.
Yeah, we knew that, you know, Doinb, that's what he would have, the value of this team. Before, they had Icon, and for LNG, mid lane wasn't as reliant, wasn't as synced up, I'd say. But for Doinb, it still hasn't worked out well, let's be real. LNG's coordination hasn't been what we thought it would be, even in spring. It's been a year-long problem for LNG. In game number 1, I could not have had a more perfect setup for some of LNG's issues. As we're in a new game, of course, we got to get past that because for LNG, they did get themselves off a response kill. But note that the CS lead in top side, with Flandre getting first blood, is hurting a lot. And even though this jungle got a lead, Aux, Tarzan now getting invaded. Junjia setting him up as it comes down with the smite. Junjia actually interrupting the dash too. Doinb can't get on in as Scout pokes them down, and Junjia's just out with Doinb committing summoners after he burned TP to get to lane and flash afterwards.
Yeah, that's a big hit. The fact that both those are used, and actually, Doinb, I think he TP'd in too fast, and as a result, like, he has no mana. Didn't have any mana going into that, and so couldn't really follow up. I'm not even sure if he had enough to root on the back end. Certainly not for a full combo, so Junjia just walks out. And I wanted to see EDG, you know, being targeted, Scout losing his summoners, burn the cleanse, burn the flash to Taliyah, and this just does it in reverse. Now Doinb doesn't really have pressure in the mid lane. He has to go for this early reset. So very painful for the side of LNG here.
Really is. I mean, the early game is a 400 gold lead from EDG. Again, I mentioned that top side lead that's brewing here from Flandre, who now is level 6 as well. Barrel Chain comes out, but doesn't seem to be too affected by it. And I want to look at the other side of the map yet again, Aux, because Dragon's up. We still haven't fought over that for now, but as Junjia moves down, note that this Poppy is going to be getting Scuttle. Tarzan's going the other way, so EDG might just get themselves an early objective, especially with Viper and Meiko getting the push out as well. Yeah,
and honestly, the bot lane's gone pretty good for EDG. I expected the Misfortune, something that trades very well in lanes, something that outranges the Aphelios to have strong laning phase, hasn't come to fruition. And EDG, they've managed to find a sus lead in the bot lane. Flandre is doing really well on this Gwen, and you know, level 13 is when you have your E max. That's when you get a 65% cooldown refund. Gwen becomes monstrous at this point. We saw the Shy piloting it earlier this split, just last week, and he was just taking over games, became basically unstoppable. And I fear for LNG at that point if Flandre goes unchecked.
I mean, with the topside pressure as well, he's starting up the Scuttle by himself. Excuse me, that Scuttle has obviously grown up quite a bit.
That's a big Scuttle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where they come from. You know, that's the mother of all Scuttles as LNG look to contest. But Junjia now has to keep his verdict, Aux. Doinb might be level 6 himself, level 8 in fact, but
Tarzan
EDG
isn't.
Has such a big tool, and without the jungler being level 6, Junjia against the wall, look for the first pick. Junjia sends him in, and Lumao's dead now for Doinb in the middle of all those members. And Scout picking up the kill. A disaster for LNG as they get thwarted off this objective as well.
And they had no right to be fighting that. LNG, Tarzan isn't even level 6. I feel like that's the bare minimum to make these fights work, is that the Viego can get those resets. Even if they'd got that initial kill, Tarzan can't ult again. Well, I mean, he can't ult the first time, obviously, but can't get the resets, can't drop out again. Now he just have his 6 and he's looking over, but I think...
Oh, got him. Interrupt. Amazing, and it's stolen. Tarzan with a slick ulti, a slick steal, and Scout's Weaver's wall won't do too much. A seismic shove to not connect. Tarzan, that timing, that buffer, was absolutely pristine.
That was so good, honestly. And I was criticizing LNG. I'm like, why are you going for that play? I still think that's true. But Tarzan manages to redeem it. Beautiful timing. Obviously, the ultimate you can use. You can't be CC during it. You can't be stopped. And he uses that timing to be able to get on top of the Poppy, close the distance. Now just going to be able to pick up the Dragon and has Herald in pocket. Suddenly, the game was looking pretty bad for EDG. I mean, sorry, for LNG. And they have managed to at least turn it around a bit. Got a replay of that initial fight, I believe.
Yep.
And yeah, Tarzan just can't do much. And so much is focused right here onto Meiko, who's obviously super tanky. They don't get the kill. But even if they did, I just don't see any way in which this works, right? Without Tarzan being 6.
We don't get a look at the Tarzan play, but well redeemed. I mean, LNG suffering a lot because of that misplay and the 2 kills given over to EDG. But as you were saying before we went in to look at that Aux, Herald gets picked up. Dragon for LNG off the back of Tarzan literally just being good at pressing buttons at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, that was just honestly individual performance saving that one. They're still down in gold though, right? That's something to bear in mind. They're still at a disadvantage, but I'm looking to see what Tarzan can find with this Herald and if they can manage to find an opportunity to close that gap. You can see already that mid tower is down almost a plate. EDG's is. If they can get the Herald down, they should get 3 and we'll get that replay. So yeah, just perfect timing here. Obviously does still get hit, but doesn't CC him. And then Junjia was kind of banking on the ultimate, you know, knocking Tarzan away. That was the game plan. When it doesn't work, left in a very difficult situation, but does manage to escape.
I mean, again, when LNG seem a little bit down and out, there's a couple of people you'd look to rely on. And we've been talking about Light unsuspectedly, but I feel like Doinb is someone who we've always kind of considered in teams to be solid. Tarzan recently has been rising back to form, kind of that 2022 spring form as well. So once again, showing that veterancy. Tarzan brings the game back in. As you said, Aux the gold is still in EDG's favor, but at least now there's a bit of a chance as Tarzan looks to group towards mid. The glacial path taken. Doinb wants a prison, but Keeper's Verdict sends away their engage. Blue Mal's now down and out, and Doinb is just down and dead. There's a cannon barrage from Arla, but once again, LNG get outmatched.
Very, very messy. And Doinb, you could see he was tentative on engaging on Scout because Scout has cleanse. And he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to dash on him, root him. But he doesn't cleanse. Okay, I'll just ult him anyway. And Scout doesn't even burn the cleanse. He doesn't need to. There's no threat. Doinb puts himself in a compromising position. But now, speaking of compromising position...
Flandre, with all the needlework sent out, just wants to pressure Arla back. He'll be fine for now, considering there's no cannon barrage, though. Flandre tried to time his window. As, yeah, even the top side seems to be going well enough here for EDG. And Aux is becoming a worry. We're back to where we were before, Herald or not. It's a 2k gold lead, EDG in firm control, and even with this Herald play that Tarzan is still yet to perform, this early game is solidly going over to the team that has the Taliyah, that has the Poppy, and that has control throughout multiple lanes.
Yeah, I mean, there's only about 40 seconds left on the Herald. You have to find a window now. Tarzan's heading mid, so that might just be the play. But man, if they don't manage to make this work, they're going to be in a rough spot. The good thing is the Poppy ult is on cooldown. You can actually knock the Herald away. And, you know, if you knock it far enough away from the turret, you can kill it before it gets there.
Yep.
So they do have that on cooldown, so EDG can't make that happen, but they're still going to try and defend and stop this from connecting with the tower. But I think it should be able to get the charge in.
Oh, 3-man route, though. We start with a dredge line that goes a bit wide as well. The eye exposed, but EDG not stepping up to it. Here comes Misfortune. Scout in full range, and one more tick would have killed him. Light almost setting up a beautiful play.
Yeah, very close to going down there. Scout getting lucky there. Didn't even be in the flash. LNG get the charge. They get 2 plates. They're close to getting a 3rd, but they don't manage to find it. With 30 seconds left, they may never get a chance. It's okay, right? You thin out the mid tower. You get a little bit of gold. But it doesn't change the state of the game. EDG are still 2k gold up, but oh, Viper.
This might. There's a flash depth charge. The Gale Force away. Viper burns his own as Meiko wants to sacrifice, but the Solar Flare buys him time. There you go. 3 summoners from EDG for Lumal's ulti and his flash as well.
And now you have to ask yourself, does that change the dragon fight in a minute? Because you have no summons on Viper. That means you could be a bit of a vulnerability. No Gale Force as well. Remember, it's quite a long cooldown now.
Yep.
110 seconds. The known ability there, and we see Scout actually goes down 16 HP at the lowest point. 16. So close, but manages to survive. But now, yeah, go back to my point.
Yep.
EDG are ahead. They by all means want to pick up that second dragon because LNG already have one. But does this change the state of things? The fact Viper does not have those summons. Bear in mind, Doinb has the ultimate, has the flash. You have Cannon Barrage. You have Light, who's going to have that ultimate available soon as well. If anything really connects on a Viper, it's lights out.
It's worth also looking at items while we're having this discussion as well. Scout and Doinb both having items, Everfrost usage there too. Divine Sunderer for Tarzan now picked up. Riftmaker for Flandre, who's walking towards the top side, but has the teleport. There's good damage here to poke out Tarzan. Scout finding a key piece of burst. But LNG still look confident walking into this. Aux and EDG are going to be the ones to start it up first.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to mention is Arla isn't here, doesn't have TP, but does have the Cannon Barrage.
Yep.
I think LNG, you've done the homework, you've got the summoners. If you can find the engage on a Viper, that's the window. Depth charge isn't quite available yet.
Turret in the way, Light looking for the bullet time yet again in front of the objective, getting down low, Cannon Barrage, but it's taken. EDG actually turned it for the fight afterwards as Lumel takes such a hefty chunk. Viper's ult is early, but Lumel's still going to be the one to die as Tarzan gets out with his ulti because Flandre joined in the fun. His teleport advantage absolutely blitzed, and LNG losing out on more than just a fancy Drake.
And I'm not sure what the game plan was for LNG there. Like, felt like they wanted to fight. You know, they knew Viper had no sums, and they were so indecisive. Doinb never linked up with the team. Arla never made his way over. And so they end up not really getting anything from it, but they have Flandre, yeah.
He's level 11, but with the Glacial Path to zone him out, Flandre buying time. Viper's here with Gravitum. Tarzan about to get a reset, and Everfrost helps out now. Viper's here. He's exposed as well, Aux. Gale Force out of the way, but the tomb seals his doom. LNG with a double off the back. A nice selection of picks for a team that just struggled in the last play.
Now, Junjia looking for Arla, but you're 3 levels down. I don't think you kill him. And Scout not in a position to help, but yeah, nice play. And this kind of feels like how this game has been so far for LNG. The team play hasn't gone well, but when Tarzan gets a window individually, he is able to step up. And we're going to replay. And so bear in mind, Arla knows he has no TP. Starts walking top. So instantly, you know this is a 4v5 at best, right? And then here, Doinb, you can't even see him on your screen. He's not even there. He actually starts leaving because he knows he can't connect. The fight's already over. And LNG, just very bad setup, but they do manage to punish this overextension. This is the power of that Lissandra Viego, the combo. One of them offers that point-and-click CC, that lockdown, and then you give the resets over to Tarzan. The frozen thralls there as well, but not even needed here to take out Viper.
Close call. Goes golden in the nick of time as well. We saw in draft Aux, LNG opted into this. You know, the Lissandra Viego had so much meaning for their draft in the second game. And we haven't seen it utilized in the team fights. That play there was great from LNG, but outside of that, right now it has just been Tarzan, as you said, individually pulling out these windows. But, you know, Doinb's had a real rough game around the edges.
Oh, for sure. And it just feels like they haven't been able to set up the fights correctly. And I can understand some of the difficulty, right? Poppy, Taliyah, they make it very hard. They're good at disrupting fights. Gwen is just a pain. I'm going to be real. But even so, it feels like they haven't put much effort into thinking, look, this is how we're supposed to set fights up. It has kind of come for those, you know, smaller numbers skirmishes. And if that's your answer, that's fine. If you're going to win off like skirmishes and like 2v2s, 3v3s, that's okay. But stop grouping at these objectives and pretending you want to 5v5 then.
Yeah.
That is my issue at the moment. But EDG, you know, they still have that lead, although it's slight. And you see Junjia just leaning up topside to try and help Scout pressure this tower. And if you look at the map, nothing really is going to come in from LNG in return.
Will be second turret here for EDG, so Scout will get this with ease. Cannon Barrage is available, and so is the Barrel Chain, but neither of those are going to be used well. So Scout gets a turret by himself. 2-0-2 here, Aux. He's got a 20 CS lead, and with Loons alongside, that's a very big mid laner in Scout. And you know, last game, he was playing more of a supportive role. This time around, he has the resources to carry again. Yeah, and another person who's getting really strong is Flandre. I said that level 13 point when your E is maxed, where you get the 65% cooldown reduction when you auto. Flandre is nearly there, and it will be super strong. But Scout, he doesn't know. Yeah, he does now, though, with the flash away, trying to buy his time. Tarzan yet again in the right place at the right time. 650 gold, Aux. Tarzan has all the kills.
That's what we want, though. That is what I want from LNG, is look for those smaller number skirmishes, because that is where you have been successful so far this game. They get a tower, they get a kill, and they get off scot-free. EDG, they throw down the Herald mid to take the tower, but realistically, they were going to be able to get that anyway with the Herald in pocket. Now, though, reset's going to be coming in. Gold is pretty close. EDG have a slight edge, but not much. And I'm looking at this dragon in 45 seconds. Would be second for either team. But a lot of spice coming in. Tarzan invest in the Gangplank chainsword right there and then. So huge item spike for this Viego.
It's going to hurt. As we look at the bottom right corner, Orcs, this is what happened. Looks like Scout wanted to take the 1v1.
Yeah, just got a little bit overzealous. He could have backed off. Could have just walked away from the situation, but hoped to find at least some heavy damage, and then ends up burning the flash here as well before going down. Sorry.
That's it. You're all right. I know you're getting ready for this fight. That's why your inner body is telling you got to give some air in. LNG, you said before, you know, these windows that need to be piloted instead of the fights. I mean, they're going to take the fight again, but remember last time around you said that LNG weren't this equal in goal. What I'm worried about right now, though, is Scout on the back end. Doinb trying to find an angle himself as Scout is now spotted out, and Tarzan's moving with him as well. Scout has to be careful as Tarzan jumps on him. Scout tries to call a bluff, but it ain't one. It's the real deal as Scout's going to drop at the start of the fight, but Tarzan not in front of the neutral objective, but does it matter? It doesn't go down. It's still there at 2.5k as they turn on the mid-jungle duo. Doinb just picked up Zonya's though as he goes golden. Junjia sends away the support, but the bullet time is in the choke. Doinb flashes over the wall as Viper's ulti is only at max range. He can't do much from here as he turns on the support while the rest of EDG are getting blown up. Heal to get the range, flash as well, but Viper remains alone while the rest of LNG are going safely home.
And I feel like Viper had to do the lion's share of the work for EDG. Scout, so disrespectful, caught out there. And then EDG try to make a play. 45, they engage onto this Lissandra, who has the Zonyas, has flash, and it all fires back in return. LNG, Tarzan is 7-0 now. And now they're looking towards Baron, but I think they hesitate off it. They know that Scout is back up and available. They don't want to overcommit, don't want to make a misplay. But yeah, you know, I was talking about LNG being the ones with mistakes in the fight setup. EDG completely flipped that one.
They really did. I mean, around Dragon, this series so far has been some of the core weaknesses of both these teams. We'll get a replay in a second, but Tarzan with the 1v9 performance here in this game. As you said, Scout's super disrespectful.
Yeah, sees the Shroud, just doesn't respect it at all, doesn't expect him to be there, gets caught out here, and then EDG, they're like, okay, we probably can't 5v5 this Dragon, let's try and pick these on the side. The ult connects, but it's Alessandro with Zonya's, buys so much time, and yes, the ult does knock Lumao away, but he gets his death charge off. Viper's not even in the fight, not even able to contribute other than that ult, and it's just clean up city for the side of LNG. I'm talking about that powerful Gwen. Tarzan got to play the powerful Gwen. You got to take control.
Yeah, and it did a lot in that fight, more than Flandre could. So now with the gold lead for LNG, it might only be 1,500, but we have seen this game sway slowly and surely in their favor. Tarzan, you mentioned 7-0, 7 out of 8 kill participation. Orcs getting onto his third item here on the Viego. And you look at Junjia in response. Might be same CS, but 1 and a bit for this Poppy.
Yeah, not even close. And the Poppy, you know, can play that disruptor, can play that tank. There isn't that big carry.
Oh, Doinb tried to ult. Okay.
Yeah, gets cancelled though, still available.
The problem is though, Doinb's about to be one-shot. There's a prison, but unfortunately, Doinb seems to be in a prison himself. Flandre is going to catch him when he gets out. And Orcs, again, not his game, while LNG group up top side, but they can't start the Baron.
Yeah, Doinb's had a rough one. And I mean, going for the Gwen in that situation, obviously the Shroud ends up cancelling the ult out. And sure, time is bought. But as you said, there's an MF on the side of LNG. Probably one of the worst Baron takers in the game, especially with this lethality build. There's just no way they could start that one up, especially if Scout can just use the Weaver's Wall over Flandre's TP. So it's a positive play for EDG, and they're going to try and get some control over this Baron area, clear out the wards. Do miss that one in the pit itself, though.
Yep.
And ultimately, a lot of LNG's vision is maintained. You can see those two wards just in the entrances off EDG's jungle.
Spotting the backs, can't do anything here for LNG, as it looks like Light was also in base. And while we have a moment, Orcs, before this Dragon comes up in a minute 40, before we start talking about Baron vision again, I just want to start talking items because Flandre has gone for the rabbit on second. We have a lot of AP now stacked up on this Gwen. Also noting that we have the beginnings of a Void Staff for Scout. Also a BF Sword here for Viper, who's probably going to be going for that IE or BT. We are getting EDG towards those 3 items is my point, and Aux, we didn't have a full flat-out discussion about scaling, but we know Aphelios with a front line, the Gwen you talked about in the side lane, it is getting towards that point where, mistakes or not, swings of gold leads or not, EDG are scaling into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think EDG's composition is really strong in the later stages. There may be times where Aphelios struggles to find the angles in the team fight, and certainly if LNG get like a big wombo combo, for sure they can make it work. But like this Gwen is becoming monstrous, and EDG's gonna start up the Baron. Taliyah, a lot of DPS on this, trying to draw LNG's attention over. They'll be spotted out. They'll stop the neutral, and yeah, it's just very much a back and forth. Both teams know game is very close at this point. And here's the thing to mention: Tarzan is so much of LNG's gold and their team fighting power. If he dies, if he gets CC'd, if he ends up going down, they lose so much in the fight. I feel like he has to be alive. He has to be getting the resets if they want to find the angle, if they want to be able to find favor.
Well, Dead Man's Blade's coming up, so that'll give him options to survive a little bit longer as well with the added mobility. And Aux, what I was going to say before is, you know, you talked a lot about the vision. LNG able to set up and move towards Baron a little bit earlier because of the ward that was in the entrance to blue buff. But now as we come back towards Baron, EDG have cleared all but 1. If the control ward in the side makes 2. So the vision continues to remain to give LNG enough information. But as Junjia now pivots around an angle himself, he'll be able to clear out this ward. And Aux, I'm kind of curious because Dragon is up and available. But for now, EDG just seeing Contempt on clearing out vision and slowly but surely moving their way down.
Yeah, ultimately, you can have Gwen solo the Dragon. You see the rest of them lean over just to offer some assistance, make sure Gwen's not going to get collapsed on. But losing vision around the Baron is the important thing. Tarzan, goes for a very early ult there. That might seem a bit questionable, but you don't take chances. When you're this fed, when you're this much of the team's power, you see the Taliyah just exist, and you're like, nah, I ain't getting seismic shoved today. Not happening, not interested.
Oh, makes sense. Hey, Hullbreaker on Arla. Just a quick note here for the GP. Do you think this is specifically because he's going up against a Gwen? Like, does it make sense to you?
Okay, there's making sense, and there's, like, knowing what the theory is. And the theory here is Arla wants to be bulkier, wants to be able to survive in a side lane, be a threat, but also in team fights, not just get blown up. But, you know, a lot of people are not fans of the Bruiser GP build, would rather him just go for the pure damage. I think here that there's definitely, you know, an argument that having the damage just means you could, you know, 1 barrel combo could win the game. But it does mean he is more for a presence on that side lane. That is, you know, obviously a big aspect of it. Can manage the Gwen a bit more comfortably. Not going to get dove as easily. With the Hullbreaker, those extra stats. But now, LNG is starting the Baron. This is a good window. Flandre has TP and there's a ward there. But they need information and they will get it.
Arla has some of the setup as well with the barrel chain. Already beginning, he has a choke there as only hits Junjia. The Glacial Path not going to be taken. Actually, Doinb goes halfway. LNG move away from the Baron. Tarzan goes to half HP. And for EDG, as you were saying, Flandre just has an open window pot. Thanks so much for the inner turret because he will take it fast.
Yeah, and I mean, you see Ole lands a barrel combo to Junjia, and as much as Poppy's a tank, you know, not got a ton of armor, but just doesn't do that much damage is one of the issues. Now, TPing out. So LNG got what they want. When they went for that Baron play, they wanted the TP from Flandre, and in a roundabout way, they ended up getting it. But now EDG are going to try and respond and force something maybe around this Baron. We'll see. Do you see a clip in the bottom of your screen where...
Flash. He flashed.
Yeah, flash burned.
Okay. Well, Doinb does have Unsealed Spellbook, but that flash, hard to see it when you see a Glacial Path as well. When you said roundabout way too, I mean, Doinb burning the TP means he has to move in. There's a Glacial Path now with the Weaver's Wall. Scout's angle, almost perfect. LNG get out in the nick of time, and that means that EDG still can't force his objective, which they've been trying to do. I mean, both teams at this point, Aux, have been trying to force the other to come to Baron.
Yep, it's been constant, and it's just been trying to get the other team to invest a bit, trying to burn some resources, whether it's like with the Weaver's Wall. Probably wouldn't have resulted in any kills, even if I had trapped someone, just because the flashes are available. But burning the summoners can be such a big thing, and these teams are just jockeying for angles, for position, trying to find these opportunities. Like, anything that's not available for this next Dragon fight can be huge, because that is where the game is mounting up towards. IE completed for Viper. Level 16 for the Gwen, voice staff completed. And this is kind of the build we've seen from Gwen's recently. So one thing as well is when they did the sort of mini rework, they buffed a lot of her AP ratios. And the fact that your ult, instead of having to damage a target, you just have to wait a second between recasts, means you can kind of play as like an artillery cannon, as in like you dash into the fight and you just fire your ults one after another at the back line. With this build, your ults hurt. Like, they do a ridiculous damage. The third one in particular, if you hit a squishy target with your third ult on this Gwen build, you will basically just one-shot them. And EDG, they have a lot of power in the pocket now. They want to start this up.
Well, Flandre at level 16, good time to mention him. That ulti, as you said, is going to be big as Tarzan wants to steal, but it's gone. He has to flash over the wall as the needlework begins to fly. The cannon barrage used and Baron taken. EDG once again edging out this game, and LNG slow to the punch.
Yeah, little invested here, but LNG, the TPS from EDG just caught them off guard, right? Taliyah, fantastic at doing Baron damage. Aphelios as well, Gwen. So they shred through it quickly. Tarzan tries for the steal, but doesn't succeed. And he is now down his flash. Remember, we said Tarzan basically has to survive till the end of the fights for LNG to win and get those resets. And we're looking towards this dragon in a minute. It is a Cloud Soul. And honestly, Cloud Soul for this EDG lineup, pretty big, right? Gwen, very much about movement speed. That's why she takes Ghost. Taliyah as well, being able to just kite around. Poppy, phase rush, and her W with that extra movement speed included can be so potent. So LNG don't want to give this one over for free, and they're going to have to try and find the position to fight this one.
Orcs, let's not forget there's so much slow on LNG as well. Individual stacks are going to be big as the Weaver's Wall once again comes through. Scout zoning out, but Lumao is by himself. Somebody help him! Lumao separated from the rest of LNGs. Now they're in a choke. Doinb wants to take this, but as the bullet time comes through, it doesn't do enough. Scout starts poking down. Viper as well. The ulti almost hitting. Rocking his own skin, but not rocking his best. Ulti is Flandre. Gets 1,000 gold! Tarzan's down, and he gives all the money to the big jackpot in the top lane.
Worst possible pace to get it, honestly, but at this point, not even sure it's the important thing. And EDG, they can just take the dragon, but they are focused on getting some structures first. They still have the Baron in pocket. They want more gold. And look at the top right of your screens. 5,000 Baron power play coming out from EDG. They've really just amped up the pace of this game.
Well, mid-turret, as soon as that drops and the Cloud Soul comes through, I mean, for EDG, they'll have themselves about a 5k gold lead, or just about thereof. Orcs, this game, again, we could have said the same thing. This game was LNG's. Like, Doinb in the interview before was saying that the mid-game was not the problem. I mean, the early game, I don't know, it's been rough to watch.
But a good wall. I think that's the thing we can praise, is EDG really set this one up well. They catch Lumao out, he flashes over, he has to flash to try and survive, but he gets nothing. And then look at this third ult damage on Doinb. Not quite a one-shot, but there's a ton. Tarzan then tries to go for the reset, but the thing is, like, there's no follow-up for the rest of the team, and as soon as you commit, there's no flash on Tarzan. He's now caught out, and you see in the end, he does try and turn things around, but goes down. And we saw that shutdown go over to Flandre. Between the last fight and now, he just bought a Shadow Flame. Just a whole Shadow Flame. He had no components.
Yep.
So that ult, you know, it didn't quite one-shot Doinb before. It's probably getting close.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, Nautilus even going to suffer as well. Shielding, giving the max stacks here, and this has been Flandre's game. We've criticized him a little bit this split as well. This is a game where he's really shown up on a Gwen pick that he hasn't picked at all this split. For EDG, alongside him, now with a 4k gold lead, the Cloud Soul we already talked about, they are on the horizon of breaking the base. And Baron's gone, but you can see Orcs still confident enough to walk in, waiting for LNG to step up for their picks.
Yeah, here's the saving grace for LNG. There's a ton of wave clear on their side, right? Oh, looking for Flandre. Ton of wave clear, but they've overcommitted.
Oh, they have. Even against the turret, Arla's by himself. Down he goes. GP asked about the rum, but the rum is gone yet again as Flandre is dealing with the rest. Glacier Path not taken, but Flandre's already started the needlework at the very tip. It doesn't hit, but the rest of EDG are breaking the base. Viper now Gale Force is in. Light ulti sits in place over the wall. Cleanses, but now is out of the fight as EDG collapse. Turn and burn. LNG to the ground.
Oh my lord, did you see that Gwen damage though? Light starts channeling the ultimate and just gets blasted. Doesn't die, but loses so much of the health bar. And like, LNG commit a lot to take out Flandre, and it costs them so much. Only Doinb and Light alive, but look at Viper. Look how quickly he shreds these structures. You know, it's 15 seconds to Lumao, 10 to Lale. Don't think they're going to be able to end here. The base has been broken. The damage has been done. EDG got what they wanted.
They really did. And even Viper now is just showing that this game is so far in his favor. Misfortune pick not doing enough here, even with the bullet timers. You look at the replay, Orcs, and as you said, Arla gets caught out here with Scout's good punish.
Yeah, Arla just oversteps, and the rest of the team had committed mid, so this was like the worst possible time to be stepping up. Big mistake from him there. And then watch, so Flandre goes down, but I want you to look at Light's health bar, because he gets clipped by the third ult and loses 60% of his health into the ult from Viper. Like, it's just like the dying throw from the Gwen. Like, just cast the ult out and nearly one-shots you. It's so scary how much damage this Gwen is capable of doing. And this is kind of the build now, the one-shot ult build, rather than like the sustained DPS carry with the more resistances we typically see. Don't get me wrong, Gwen is still a monster up close and personal, but this long-range sniper ultimate is devastating.
And Flandre, once again, having it available. He's got Ghost this time as well. Note that Flandre is sitting on a stopwatch too, so along with Gwen being immune, she's also going to be invulnerable as Tarzan might be caught out. EDG still looking for a pick, but as Midwave gets pushed out and EDG continue to choke out Vision, LNG on their last legs, Orcs, in a series that has looked close, but EDG just keep finding ways to win.
Yeah, and you know, I want to throw a caveat. We've seen EDG close to victory before and throw it away. That was the theme of that series against RNG, so never can feel that the series is done until they destroy that second Nexus, but they just able to take the Baron. No contest. Cannon Barrage comes in. EDG, maybe some flashbacks from that one.
Yep.
Breeze stealing it away from them, obviously gave RNG the win against them just last week, but EDG secure it. They have the Baron. Elder not for a minute and a half, so they can just start pushing up the top lane, and LNG is scrambling to defend.
Yeah, these backs are going to come through slowly. I mean, the wave crashing in too. All 5 members of EDG to take it. We are looking at Flandre with that ulti, whether LNG finds someone on the return out or if EDG choose. Tarzan is just running at them, but as the bases come through, they're looking for Viper. Okay, Viper's gone, and they're all gone here. So for LNG, yeah, an attempt at the very least to look at them, Orcs, but I feel like the last attempt of this game will be around the Elder that's coming up in a minute.
The problem is, you know, EDG already ahead, but look at the inventories, right? Scout has Zhonya's, Flandre, Junjia, and Viper all have stopwatch. And if you think of how LNG want the fight to go, they want that big combo. Oh no.
Watch Lumao. I don't care about the rest of the fight. I want to see Lumao as Flandre tangles him down. Needlework again. Orcs, he snips him dry. While the rest of EDG, we turn our heads and Viper's flashing forward. Baited is Doinb as he runs into him. Viper doesn't care. A perfect stopwatch from yours truly as EDG are firing on all cylinders. Scout even flashing forward. Tarzan, who tried to carry this game in a 1v9, but EDG standing strong in EDG ways. The 5v5 always their strength as a much needed win comes through, and bashing LNG 2-0 is exactly what the doctor ordered.
And the thing is, if they had lost this, they would have tied score with LNG, but they managed to win. They managed to get the 2-0. They managed to push themselves closer to the top of the pack teams. And with that, you know, they're going to be in a much better position, feeling a lot safer towards playoffs, especially as we often talk about that 8 wins being the sweet spot, right? The cutoff for playoffs typically is 8 wins, 8 losses, not a guarantee, but EDG taking a much needed win. And that game too as well, convincing. Felt like they were in control. LNG just couldn't match up.
It's sad, right? Because with the early strength of Tarzan, with the way he was playing the game, not only in game 2, but in game 1, for LNG, like, if it's not one thing, it's another. You know, Arla had a clean game in game number 1. What was it in the first game, Orcs? Oh, well, Lumao kept getting caught out by Meiko and the hooks. Coordination around the fights. Game 2, oh, well, Doinb going in on the mid 3v3 play. Like, I think Doinb had one of his worst games we've seen this split by far, while Tarzan was having one of his best. It's always just so janky.
This is actually the problem. I've actually said this before, I think on the last hit about LNG.
Yeah.
No one, like, the problem is they don't have everyone having a good game at the same time.
Yeah.
Tarzan will have a good game. Doinb will have a bad game. Or maybe Tarzan has a bad game, but Light has a good game. And maybe all just... But it's like, you know, some people will have a good game and some people will have a bad. And it's not even like it's the same people. It's like a rotation. Someone always underperforms, it feels like, in their losses. And as a result, they end up losing series where it felt like, you know, today they were competitive, but the mistakes, the issues, the problems ends up biting them. And it's frustrating, honestly. It really is, because everyone on this lineup, I feel like, has had very capable games so far this season.
Oh, yeah.
And yet they just don't manage to perform together when they need it. And, you know, I had some criticisms of the draft in this one. I think they kind of dropped the ball, letting EDG get Taliyah again, let them get Poppy. The Gwen had a fantastic one. But, you know, there's a lot of back and forth. But when EDG got control, they just took it and did not let go.
And they did so well at, you know, continuing to push the tempo ahead. I mean, Scouts Weaver's walls got better and better, like we said in game one. I feel like, you know, Flandre had the time of his life on this Gwen as well. But Aux, Mr. Consistent in the bottom lane. When we looked at Light versus Viper, Viper in both games being an absolute animal. And he's always, you know, one of the